Hi, you may not know me yet, but I'm Beth. There's a lot of things that I love to do, in particular dancing, but I also work in one of the Ageas UK contact centres here in Stoke-on-Trent. I was working as an insurance consultant for 2.5 years before recently being promoted to a team leader, and now I manage a team of my own. You might be asking why I'm in this video, but this is a story about me. Well, it's not just about me actually, it's about all 1,100 of us here in the Ageas UK sales and service team. It's also a story about our customers. We serve them every day. We support them in their time of need, hear their stories, and we try to make their lives easier. Our job is pretty critical to the business. In this video, you'll discover what we felt needed to be done in order to serve our customers in the best possible way, in a brilliant way, in fact, in the Ageas way. My colleagues have some tips to share with you, which have made an amazing difference to me and our customers. I hope you enjoy the journey. Take it easy.
If I go back sort of 18 months or so, what you would have seen in our contact centres is very transactional work, people following very strict and set processes. And that works to a point. You know, you can reliably predict what the outcome might be, and it feels like you have a level of control of the work that's being undertaken. But there are some unintended consequences to that. People don't engage really well with set processes. And the really bad consequence is that customers became something of a unit of production. So I talk to a customer, follow that process, move on to the next one and the next one and so on. And as a result of that, we've been left with jobs that were uninspiring, unengaging, not very stimulating. All the ingredients that get motivated people out of bed in the morning had gone from those roles, and in place of that, monotonous and repetitive work. Now, that changes when you ask people, how might we do this work better? And actually give them some ownership of the activity. And not only do they know how to do it better, they take some ownership, they maintain the integrity of the process, and they continue that pursuit of getting better. And the Ageas way does two really key things. The first one is sets a common purpose, and our purpose is to make insurance easy, so all that improvement should align to that purpose. And the second thing is 9 principles in which we redesign the work, so it describes what the future should look like. Now, I love all the principles, but if I were to pick 3 favourites, I would go with these. Number 1 would be test everything against purpose. So is the process that I'm following now helping to make insurance easy for customers? And in fact, is what I'm doing with my own time actually helping to make insurance easy for customers? And if the answer is ever no, then we should do something about that. My second favourite would be to handle value brilliantly, because that makes sure that our products and services meet precisely what our customers need, and for the business, income goes up. The third one would then be eradicate failure and waste, because that makes things easier for customers, it takes away unnecessary effort, and for the business, through the efficiency gains, our costs go down.
There are not many business transformation or improvement programs that can improve customer service and also improve income, that can reduce business cost and drive efficiencies, and also that can improve employee engagement. And actually the Ageas Way programme does all of that. And as well as that, it's a proven methodology. You know, we have a reference point in our claims team. It's a continuous improvement cycle, and that means we can constantly review and redesign the way that we work in a changing world. And finally, it empowers everybody to get involved, to spot issues, to help fix them, and to be part of that exciting journey. And finally, it means we're all able to align to one common purpose, which is making insurance easy for our customers.
So when we began to implement the Ageas Way, before we rolled it out everywhere else, what we really wanted to do is test and understand the progress we're making. So what we'd do is we'd choose a smaller area, we'd really embed it in there, and then study and learn before we rolled it out elsewhere. One of the methods we used was to stage some very concentrated workshops. So these workshops would last, say, 3 or 4 weeks. that involved several people, but particularly the people who did the job themselves. And we'd really study that, so we'd study every detail. So in that we'd really understand what the customers were telling us and what they wanted from us. We'd look at every process and how they all interlocked together. We'd even have a look at the behaviours and the actions of those people within that system. And to be fair, these reviews have been really, really beneficial for us. We've had hundreds of ideas how to make insurance easy. I mean, just to give one example, from a very early review that we did, we found one of our cancellation processes actually had 17 steps in it. That's 17 different actions needed just to cancel one policy. All right, so pleased to report, we're now getting that down to just one step, so that's one person pressing one button. And I think the people in the reviews are really important as well. It's important that the frontline people, the people who do the work, take centre stage. You know, there's no doubt that the people who know our customers best and know the jobs best are the people who do the job day in, day out. They come up with the best ideas, and to see them so empowered to be redesigning their own job is absolutely brilliant.
So we've tried to reinforce the change as much as possible. We use Workplace, the UK communication platform, as well as awards for great work aligned to the Ageas Way and the completion of formal training. But actually it proved very difficult initially to change people's behaviours on a day-to-day basis. That's because their objectives essentially misaligned to what we were trying to achieve in the future. And whilst training made sense, they go back to their day jobs and continue often as they always had. So all roads led back to role redesign. So we've redesigned those roles for our insurance consultants and our team leaders predominantly. And that includes the way we recruit them and what we ask them to do when they're in those roles. The team leaders in particular, we're very clear on 4 things that we'd like them to achieve. First is to drive alignment to purpose. The second one is to drive performance. The third is to improve the work. And the fourth is develop your people. Now, if you read a job description from the past, it would very much have been heavily biased towards managing people. And that will improve performance to some extent, but it's not where you'll get the most improvement. So the alignment to purpose and improving the work are new additions and very important to us. So what was a leading tactic of training is now a supporting activity. And our local learning and development teams and partnership with a local university are providing the academic study to the methodology, but that supports the activity and the behaviour change in the job on a day-to-day basis. So there was a widespread belief in the business that targets and in particular bonus schemes drive performance. And in fact that's true, they did drive performance, but not necessarily in the way you might think. So when we went to study customers, what we found was that sometimes people would take shortcuts against the bonus scheme to get the best outcome for themselves, and that's not necessarily also the best outcome for customers. So for example, if I'm talking to a customer and I don't think he's going to buy from me today or even perhaps this month, then my objective could be to get through that as quickly as possible with that customer, to talk to the next customer who might buy from me, which then means I get some payment. And in actual fact, I'm still achieving my objectives. And also in terms of things like productivity targets. So what we found there was that people were concentrating on getting through a volume of tasks or customers in a set amount of time. So that becomes the objective. And the problem with that is there's no consideration as to whether that work is the right work or not and what the impact on the customer is. So it's a result of those things that we started to remove targets and we replace them with measures. So we replace them with things that track whether we're actually doing what a customer needs us to do. That's providing excellent service, it's doing things quickly, it's making things easy. And for an individual, they can understand how their contribution to performance is helping the business get better and helping customers over a period of time. So day by day, your performance will have some variation in it. Some days will be better than others, but over time, in the pursuit of getting better, how can you tell us how you might do that? And you can clearly see that through the measures that we provide to our teams and our people. So we found that team leaders would spend a disproportionate amount of time on on managing people, and tasks that take them away from customers and away from people actually as well. So our vision is that people will only do what we call value work. That is activity that directly improves things for customers, and that involves serving customers together with your team. But you need the time to do that, and the way you create the time is to take away those tasks that don't necessarily add the amount of value you would like. One of those tasks was quality monitoring. That was taking up to 40% of a team leader's time in some cases. It was a manual process of retrospective checks. We've exchanged that process for two things. The first is speech analytics. So we're using a speech analytics program that can listen to a vast volume of calls and it can pick out for us where there might be risk. And that can be automated, and the results can come back to us, and our monitoring can therefore be much more targeted and productive. And the second tactic is what we call a needs-based approach. So we use the measures that we've introduced and we find out where the risky activity seems to be appearing, and we're going to focus our activity on that. With that time and that capacity that's been released now for team leaders, they can go back to serve customers. They can do work that adds value, they can help to support their people, and as a result of that, in our trial teams this year, we've released the equivalent of 6 extra people to go back and improve the work and our activity for customers. That is significant. And we found over 400 ideas for improvement that we'll now start to evaluate and take forward, and that will make a significant difference to our business.
Voice of the Customer programme has been live within GS Sales in UK for around about 3 years, and essentially is a number of different surveys that we send to our customers via telephony and via email, which allows them to give us feedback about how well we've done, which is great, but also around where we can make improvements to the journey. Some of the things that we've improved over the past 3 years or so, linking in with the Ageas Way programme, has been our scripting. So we've removed a number of the scripts, which has allowed our consultants to have much more flowing conversations with our customers. We've also made a number of changes to our web journey, which allows the customers to buy in a better way, and also to our documentation, which we've made much clearer to our customers. So essentially they understand better what they bought from us. What the programme also does is it allows us to use a number of measures from the questions that we ask to ensure that the changes that we're making are making improvements. So, as an example, we use a Net Promoter Score, which is where we ask the customer whether they would recommend to friends and family. We've seen some good improvements in this score over the past 3 years. We also ask a Net Easy Score, which is essentially how easy it is to do business with us, and that very much links in with our purpose of making insurance easy. We've seen a really good improvement to this of 10 points over the past 12 months, so it really shows us that the improvements that we're making are working. We also get scores back for our consultants, so it allows them to see where they're doing well and also where they can make improvements. And finally, we also understand from the customer how many times they have to contact us, which links into our first time call resolution to make sure we're doing things right first time. So essentially the programme really allows us to understand where we're doing things well for a customer, but more importantly, how we can make those improvements.
Involve your senior leaders as quickly as possible in the process.
I would say know your purpose, in particular the redesign principles, and you're trying to describe what the future would look like, as we were for over 1,000 people. That's been critical.
Get your change plan ready. There's going to be lots of ideas coming down the track, so be ready to redesign your world.
The next thing I would say is awareness is one thing, but actually desire is another. So make sure you create that for people to actually change their behaviours.
Yeah, and be patient. You know, this is a journey, and things are going to take time, but all of a sudden there'll be lots of small things that will add up to something really big.
And to make sure that is the case, after purpose comes measures. So you need to make sure you're measuring the right thing. That's got to be the things that customers want us to measure. Simply taking what we used to track and turning those into measures won't be enough on its own.
And finally, Dave,
Reinforcement.
Reinforcement. Reinforcement.